Welcome back to Grow It Anyway. Today has been the most beautiful day. It's been in the 70s after several weeks of just cold weather. So it's beautiful, it's sunny, and we're starting some seeds. I live in Zone 7A, so if you live in Zone 7A or wondering what seeds I'm starting, come on, let's grow it anyway. Welcome to Grow It Anyway, where imperfect gardens still grow. If your plants don't look Pinterest perfect, you're in the right place. So come on, let's grow it anyway together. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is my setup. So I have this little station right here that I have my little tractor seat that I use in my garden. And then I also have this little, I don't know, container you want to call it, where I mix my soil. I also have one of these 2-in-1 sieves. This is a 1/4-inch sieve. So what I do is I mix my soil together for my seed starting mix, and then I sift it to make sure that there's not any big particles. So that's the first thing. I get out my equipment. The next thing is I've devised a way in my greenhouse to kind of keep me a little organized. So right here, you'll see down here, I've got these containers. Where are they at? Here. So the first one I have is cocoa coir. Then I have a perlite or vermiculite in here. And then I have my just regular seed potting mix, and then I have my compost. Also, occasionally what I do is I will put some worm castings. So I just have worm castings on hand if the compost is too dry, or if I'm planting something that's really going to be needing a lot of nitrogen, like our brassicas, like I am today. Okay, let's talk about what we are going to be seeding. So the first one is this broccolini. If you've never grown broccolini, it's like broccoli, but it has a thinner stalk. It's more tender. This is one of our frost-tolerant crops. I'm not a huge broccoli fan, but I do like broccolini. And on the back of the botanical interest packet, it'll show you all of the things. So 7 to 14 days to emerge, seed depth 1/4 inch, and your seeding spaces. I sow them in, don't sow them directly in the ground, obviously, because we're starting them in pots today. But it shows that you put two seeds in each section, and then whenever you're actually going to be putting them in the ground, that's where your spacing really comes into play. And it says when to sow outside recommended. We are not doing that because I might try that to see, just as an experiment, to see what my success is. But we are going to start this inside to get a little jump start. It says 2 to 4 weeks, so we should be putting our broccolini out here in about a month. And then the other one that I am going to be sowing is just regular old broccoli. It's a Waltham 29, and this is one of our other frost-tolerant crops. The next one, I don't know, this is not a botanical interest. I've not had a lot of success with cauliflower, but this is a snowball improved. I may have gotten this at the dollar store. And then last but not least, sowing these Utah celery. It is another frost-tolerant plant, and we want to get those out before it gets too hot. And this is a botanical interest, and so it says days to emerge 15 to 30 days. So we need to make sure that we keep an eye on it and don't throw it out because we thought something was wrong with it. It may take a full month for it to come up, and we'll have to watch for that. I've got my plant or my pot here ready for my plants. This is just a little 6-cell plant thing, and I'm going to do my broccolini first. So like I said earlier, it said the seed depth is 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch, I mean, that's just like barely a depression in the soil. You can use something a little bit more guided. You know, they sell these little things. You don't need to poke a hole, but you do need a little depression. Hopefully you can see those. They're just little tiny seeds. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 2 or 3 in each depression. Why 2 or 3? Well, it's about germination. So if you put, you know, 5 seeds in a hole or in a little depression here, then you know that at least a couple of them are going to germinate. So anyway, it's a power of numbers for me. This is already sifted, and I'm just going to go over the top here and just put a little tiny bit of soil, and you want to kind of push that down so it will have contact with the soil. It's not laying on there. Okay, one thing I failed to mention that is super, super important whenever you're sowing seeds is a little tag. If I've got one over there right now that I forgot to put my tag in, and I have no idea what's growing. We're all going to be just like super surprised together. So what I do on my tags is I don't have my glasses, so broccolini, I don't know. So I put broccolini on there. I spelled it wrong. And then on the back of it, I put the date. So today is the 6th of February. I'm going to put, because I will not remember, 7 to 14. So if it's not up in 7 to 14 days, I will know something is up. And so then I put my little tag. This whole 6 cell is one thing, then I don't have to worry about putting a tag in every single one. Okay, what do we have next? We have cauliflower. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've struggled a lot with cauliflower. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is. So this is another one that's a 1/4 inch. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm just going to push in the little divots, and I'm going to put about 3 to 4 seeds in each divot. So tip number 1, and are you kidding me? There is a mosquito on me. It is February. That is unacceptable. So back to what I was saying. I've struggled with cauliflower before. And so the first tip is to have the right soil. It does matter. The next thing is make sure you know what you're seeding when. Timing is so important. If I put my tomatoes in right now, it's not going to be, by the time I need to move them outside, it's not going to be warm enough. The cauliflower, although, and the brassicas, which are your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, cabbage, that sort of thing, those cool weather tolerant, frost hardy, cold tolerant plants, you need to get them outside when it's cool, because I'm in 7A, but zone 7 certainly does get super hot super fast. So let's put on this snowball cauliflower. Let's make a tag here. So there's my cauliflower, tagged on the back. It doesn't take very long. Okay, the next thing we're going to sow is my Watham broccoli. This is the regular broccoli. This one is 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so whenever I do that, I'm not going to push in the little divot. I am literally going to lay this on top, and I am going to trickle some of this soil that I fluffed up by sifting it. I am going to put it barely on the top, and I'm just going to push it down. If I put the little divot in there, even though it's not very deep, my experience is that it kind of gets too deep. So because of that, I'm not going to surface sow it. I'm just going to sprinkle a tiny bit of seeds over it. Okay, so we talked about the soil, and we've talked about timing. Another tip about starting seeds is making sure that you have the right conditions. What does that mean? That means that to germinate seeds, some of them need sun or light. To grow light will help you get that done. Okay, I'm going to show you this real quick. I don't know if you can see. I've got these seeds just sitting on the top here. You can see that. And then I am going to come back and I am just going to sprinkle a tiny bit just to cover those seeds. And then I am going to press them down so they have good contact with that soil. Okay, let's get a tag on there. Anyway, what I was saying is some of them are going to need light, so you're going to need a grow light. Do you have to go buy, fancy, expensive grow lights? Absolutely not. The things I have hanging down, I've got that are attached, those little tiny lights. I think they came in a pack. It was $20. And I think there was multiple of them in a pack. And I loved them because they had one outlet. I don't love them for this setup, but they work. It's fine. I'm going to use what I have. And so you link them all together. You only have to use one plug-in. And it's great because they all link together. But that is an adequate amount to start the seeds. Some seeds don't even require light. They just require warmth. Some require both. How are you going to know? Educate yourself. It's just literally on the back of the seed packet. If you have a seed packet that does not have information on the back about what they require, to germinate, or how many inches apart they're going to get. Do you need to allow 6 inches? Do you need to allow 2 feet? How big are they going to get? If you don't have that kind of information, then you probably need to look for a different type of seeds. Or listen, we've got so many tools. Chat GPT. You've got all the internet to see. You can look up your specific type of seed, your zone, whatever, and it's going to give you a lot of information. But the conditions that I have found successful, how many days was that? 7 to 14. Could have guessed. The conditions I have found that's very helpful for me is to make sure that my soil is warm. So that's a heating mat. Or you don't have to have a heating mat to germinate. It's just going to take a really long time for it to germinate. So if you only have a windowsill, put it in the sunniest part of your house in the windowsill. If you have a shop light, you can go and get from store. Just put a light on it. Get it as close as you can. That light's going to help warm up the soil if it's a non-LED. But if you have these budget, then they're pretty inexpensive heat mats. You can put several cells, like on one heat mat with one tray under one grow light. You can get 12 of these. So think about it. You can get 12 6 cells, and each of these has a couple of seeds in them. So do the math. If you have a small garden, you're doing a container garden, try it with one mat and see how far you go. If you're doing a big garden, obviously, you're going to be wanting more. Okay, the next thing I am going to seed is my Utah celery. I love celery so much. These are great because you don't have to take the whole stalk. You can just, you're doing something and you need a couple of stalks of celery. You can go off in the garden and you can just grab a couple of stalks and then the plant's going to continue to grow. It's fantastic. I never thought that this would be easy to grow. It is a frost tolerant plant. It does say it's 100 to 120 days till maturity. It says to sow in early spring or midsummer. If you're doing it midsummer in zone 7A, it is going to get very hot and you're going to have to put a lot of water on it. I like to start it in the spring. Better yet, it's so great in kind of late summer and into fall, because fall, it does really good as a cold weather here in our zone. Okay, depth, just press into the surface. Okay, let me show you how I do that. These seeds are so tiny. If you can see how tiny these seeds are. I mean, they're like a grain of sand. So I take my pot and I am just going to trickle. Oop, that was too many. I'm probably doing at least 6 seeds per. I just trickle them on the top like that. Okay. And then I just press them down just so they have good contact. You have good contact with the soil. Okay, that's it. And then I'm going to put the rest of my seeds back in my bag. I can't forget my tag. Okay, on the celery, this is 15 to 30 days before it's going to come up. So we are going to have to be watching that and not despairing when we've got the broccoli, the broccolini, and the cauliflower popping up, but our celery is not. You don't want to dump the thing going, oh my gosh, it didn't germinate. That's why I really like putting how many days are on the back. Okay, so I've got them on the end of my row here. And you can see there's the broccoli, the broccolini, and I've got the celery and the cauliflower back there. I'm watering them from the bottom, so I put a little bit water in there so they can soak up any. I will not let them soak in water, so I'll come back in about 10 minutes, and if there's still water there, I will dump it, because what you don't want is it sitting in water and making this sopping wet to where it creates an anaerobic environment, or it creates where there's not any oxygen for the seed to grow. So the other thing I have, we're talking about the heat mat. I've got a heat mat under here. It is on. So I've got my heat mat. So it's going to have nice warm soil. It's got enough water to help them germinate, and it's got plenty of light. You can see that this light is down as far as it can go to help give it some light. So hopefully within 7 to 14 days, we should see some sprouts of broccoli, broccolini, and cauliflower, and another about 30 days on that celery. So we'll see what we get. Okay, it's supper time, and you guys can see I've got like makeup on and stuff today because I came straight from work, so not my normal, as you know. But I just want to tell you thank you for planting my seeds along with me. We've got a few more, and I will video me putting in the basil and all of the other items, but just remember, make sure your soil's right. That is a big part of the battle, is making sure you've got the right type of soil. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to mix it yourself. Just find out what works for you. This method works for me. And then also look and check on the back of your seed packets. Get your timing right. Consult, educate yourself about when to plant, what to plant when, and I'm going to be starting seeds. And so if you're in zone 7 or 7A, you can plant right along with me. And then the last thing is make sure you have the right conditions to give your little seedlings the very best chance to sprout. So give them heat and light, and don't overwater. Don't love them to death like you know I love to do. So thank you so much for growing with me and spending time with me today. And you know what? Even if everything's not perfect, grow it anyway. See what happens.